I was afraid I couldn't protect my child, which is why I chose to end my life.
Alxipif, how dare you? How could I not know you had such vicious schemes?
Is this true? Did Alxipif really plan that?
Sarpanon, where is your...
Jujutsu Kaisen's sequel is absolutely insane. In a 60-year time skip, Yuda's marriage with Maki is confirmed, with their grandchildren becoming the new MCs. But that's not all. Aliens invade Earth to migrate 50,000 of their people to the planet. And on top of that, Yuji Itadori and Satoru freaking Gojo are name dropped as their legend lives on. So I'm here to break down everything in the new sequel. Now, in the opening page of Jujutsu Kaisen's sequel, a bombshell is immediately dropped. In the vast universe, aliens discover Earth in the year 2086. Their race is called Sumerians, and their mothership carries 50,000 of their own, as they wish protection from Earth as they are refugees. The king of the Sumerian race is informed of Japan, and in their data, they believe the greatest power on Earth was meant to be the USA. But consulting America, they state diplomatic missions are recognized as Japan's responsibility. This is because in the original manga, within chapter 270, when America asked Japan about cursed energy 60 years ago, Maki revealed that they need to save the soldiers who were in the US military by using Yuji and Hana to get rid of the cursed objects inside of them. She then explained that the entire world was witnessing Sukuna's fight with Gojo as Mei was broadcasting it. However, they eventually believed it was just a phenomenon that occurred in Tokyo. However, what about Tengen's barrier and Japan having a monopoly on cursed energy? They need to be upheld to keep the status quo, right? Well, in chapter 270, it revealed that Tengen is dead, but Sukuna's finger is playing the role of upholding the barriers since her remnants were found inside it. So as long as it's preserved, everything will be fine, given the fact that Sukuna's soul moved on in the Samsara cycle to go north to be reborn as a good person as seen in chapter 271. The 1/20th part of his soul within the final finger doesn't exist anymore, and since it's an indestructible cursed object as well, Yuji claimed everything is alright. Now as a result, the Sumerian race then discovered that there's a group of people in Japan that possess a similar power to themselves, and that's the ability to use cursed energy, and they call themselves sorcerers. This is where a picture of Yuta and Maki's grandkids are shown, forming all kinds of aura as they embark on their journey to become the strongest. Now, after this epic introduction, the story rewinds a few years, showcasing Yuta Akatsu speaking with his grandkid named Yuka. He is extremely close with her, having a loving relationship that the children of the original series only dreamed of having. Like,
they said we couldn't reach the sky with hands like these. But still, we rise.
If you're a high school student and you're interested in being in the Tennessee Wesleyan Teacher Education Program, you have a lot of opportunities. You can be a K through 5 teacher, or you could go the secondary route, and there are 6 majors inside of that: history, the sciences, music, PE. We also have a special education certification, so there's pretty broad chances of doing what you want to do within our program. Their experiences in multiple classes give them plenty of opportunities to learn from teachers in the field too. Because we want those students in the classrooms, they want them with teachers, seeing what teachers do. Our smaller classes, kids just don't stay. We support them in the way that they need. I think what makes our faculty stand out here at Tennessee Wesleyan is that everyone in the education department has been a teacher, has been a school leader of some sort. So when our students ask us for help, we know what to tell them. They're going to have a lot of guidance. They know what comes next. There's no guesswork. It is a passion for me that we provide excellent teachers because our communities need that and they deserve that. We see that as our mission, is to provide great teachers for our community. And by doing that, we have to support our students to get there.
Imagine making me and having a dad like Cody. That shit ain't gonna happen anymore, right? As a result, Yuta got to go fishing with his kids, play games, and have peaceful walks in the beautiful scenery. But unfortunately, you're gonna have to get the tissues out. Yuta dies. With his death coming soon and they know it's gonna happen, he decides to pass on Rika's ring to Yuka because she's a little too mischievous and she really wanted it. We know this to be true from the glimpse of her we saw in the original manga in chapter 271.5. Because in the year 2018, 6 years prior to the sequel, we get to see Yuka was the one rummaging through Yuta's possessions and found Panda. But with the years passing by, Yuta now thinks it's time for Yuka to try her best to become a strong sorcerer, with the ring having the power to watch over her. Another 4 years passed by, and we learn Maki Zenin had passed away, which resulted in Yuta getting weaker and weaker. She was the whole reason he had the idea of getting stronger and wanted to protect his friends. She was the reason he kept on living, and without her, that is all gone. His life force, his curse energy, his will to live goes away with it. No one ever thought Maki would be the one to die first as well. But in that grieving moment, on top of Yuta's coffin, with everyone leaving the funeral, it's a sad moment, he's now passed, Yuta decides to become the strongest, just like he once was. However, Yuta's daughter, not his granddaughter, Yuka's mother, she asks for Rika's ring back, stating that her brother Tsurugi should receive it instead. She is not worthy of its power and has no right to own it. Now this is important to know, but the ring was registered into the Gojo clan storehouse. Remember, Yuta Akatsu became the acting head of the Gojo clan because he is a distant relative through their shared ancestor Sugawara Michizane, and he was one of the strongest sorcerers, fitting the Gojo clan's tradition of selecting powerful individuals to become their leader. Eventually, we meet Tsurugi, who has received the ring despite Yuka's plea. She reminisces about all her training, hoping to become a worthy sorcerer that gains acknowledgement to receive the ring her grandpa entrusted to her. Meanwhile, we meet a new antagonist, where Gege is showcasing how times have changed. The villain is playing video games with a child, questioning the boy's psyche on his view of life, as in the value that he bestows upon it. This sets the seed of what we are about to see, as the villain claims if the child thinks death and violence are normal, then they would have no problem ending up as an energy source battery. Now, the human trafficker villain, what he's referring to is what we see in movies like The Matrix, where humans are used as an energy resource to power the world and make money. We learn that Japanese that have latent energy powers are getting kidnapped more than ever. Now in Kyoto, children especially have gone missing, and the police have not been able to catch wind of who is doing so, believing that sorcery is involved. That's why Yuta's grandchildren, now aged 16 and 17, they have joined Jujutsu High and have taken on the mission to help. Now, this isn't some fast food, you just have to connect the dots. In the original manga, the USA and China found out that cursed energy was real. Kenjaku dropped a bombshell that cursed spirits exist, right? That's the reason the USA sent 800 of their military to join the killing game and kidnap Japanese sorcerers. That was the whole point in the first place, and they wanted to use Gojo's unlimited curse energy as an infinite resource. But guess what? 60 years later,
they say higher education is outdated, irrelevant, but at Grand Canyon University, we shatter the status quo. GCU's bachelor's, master's, and doctoral education degree programs combine coursework with observational education. GCU gives you hands-on experience so you can learn to lead your classroom with heart, faith, and purpose. This is purpose-driven education. Take action. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Visit gcu.edu.
Now we gotta go help people customize and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Where's the golf cart? There it is. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Years later, it seems as though this idea has come to fruition, but for regular folk, as Japanese citizens fetch a high price on the black market. Now, whilst being briefed, they meet their third member, who is none other than an alien. His name is Malulu Balul Yeluru. His name is Malulu Balul Yeluri. Malulu Balul Yeluri. Yeluri? No, Yeluri. Yeah, Malulu Balul Yeluri. That's my breast, guys. Now, with such a mouthful of a name, they assume that this alien is a human but is a foreign sorcerer. It was already mentioned in JJK chapter 136 that few sorcerers and curses appear overseas, and Yuga insinuates this once again. However, being an alien, learning the culture of humans and the customs of this world, Malu doesn't understand shit that's going on. But then, we get a huge reveal. Gege's sequel isn't just throwing in aliens for shock value. This reveal actually connects back to one of Jujutsu Kaisen's story of the theme of coexistence. In the original series, the big question was whether humans and curses could live side by side, or whether their relationship was doomed to be defined by destruction. Yuji embodied that struggle. He carried Sukuna but still believed in protecting people, constantly questioning whether monsters and humans could ever share the same world. Now, in Monjuro, Gege has expanded that same dilemma into a cosmic scale. Malu, secretly representing the Sumerian race, isn't here to conquer it. He's here to observe humans, to see if Earthlings with powers can live in harmony with them. It's the same old question in the new era. Can beings born from a totally different world actually coexist? And this is where the Yuji parallels kick in once again. Yuda's granddaughter, Yuka, immediately channels that same energy, whilst everyone else ditches Malu the moment he says he won't interfere or be useful. Yuka treats him like an actual person. She offers him Japanese food, giving him a taste of culture, and that simple act breaks the barrier between them. She then vents about her brother, how they are at the same power level as sorcerers, but since Suguri's perception of hard work is easier to understand through his bodily workouts, they believe he is better suited as the next head. This hurts Yuka because her brother wasn't even close with Yuta Akatsu, nor does he understand the sentimental value that ring has for her. She just wants to be strong and understood by her family, recognized as worthy. However, learning all of this, Malu the alien suggests they both finish the mission alone so that Yuta can get all the credit. And although it's against the rules, she goes ahead with the plan. They start to search for leads or any clues regarding the kidnapper, and they actually discover what's going on. Yuga figures out that the path people walk is imbued with the enticement of curiosity for the target to fall prey to the villain. It must be a barrier technique that captures children quite easily. Gege then drops a massive reveal that ties the sequel right back to Jujutsu Kaisen. We learn Mura has a twin brother, the same sinister figure that we saw on page 1 that was with the king. His brother rejects him, belittles him as useless, and refuses to understand him. No matter how much Mula tries to bridge the gap, their relationship only spirals further into resentment. Mula wants to solve his own bond with his twin, and the alien race migrating to Earth as refugees. Now, Yuga's response to Mula is pretty interesting. She states, "Don't push your ideal shape of sibling relationships onto me. This is a problem that will repeat again and again." But as we all know, just like Megami, Yuji and the others. This is just a story setting up a lesson for her to learn after getting into jujutsu. Eventually, they meet up with Sugiri and close in on the barrier technique's location. They set up tape, but before they know it, a child is already running through it, enticed by the villain's technique. Now it's too late, and we get a sick panel of a cursor grabbing him with its hands and teleporting him away. This makes them realize that the sorcerer they're dealing with must be pretty skilled. And Sugiri then states they should go report this and he will go in alone. But before they know it, we too is teleported. The katana is left behind because it's a cursed tool. The barrier repels anything that has a high level of energy to prevent sorcerers from destroying their plan. However, interestingly, we learn Sugiri has a heavy restriction just like his grandmother Maki and Toji. Toji was born with literally zero plus energy, completely cut from it. But the trade-off was that his body was pushed to the absolute peak of human potential. Maki eventually reached this level of power after losing mind. Their reflexes, muscle control, strength, and speed, it reached levels that made them a natural predator for sorcerers and curses. And I guess that's why the manga does a pun about the hunter now becoming the hunted. Anyway, Mula then gets pissed that giving up on your ideals is for when you get wounded and actually try. There is no need for Yuka to feel embarrassed when she hasn't. So since he won't give up on his twin, she shouldn't either. And guess what? She says, nah, I won't go save him. Instead, she will show her resolve by punching him. This is where the scene cuts to our new antagonist who has Tsurigi captured. Kyoto was perfect for his barrier technique since it's a city built like a grid. Tsurigi claps back that he must be stupid to do such a crime where the headquarters of sorcery resides. But none of that shit matters to this villain. He's going to give up the human trafficking business soon because he has discovered that aliens have arrived on Earth. We then learn some insane history through it. And that is Gojo's generation of students, they all became legends. 68 years ago, after the Culling Game, a treaty that I mentioned earlier in the video was signed for Japan to deal with any sorcery type activity. Now, Satoru freaking Gojo and Yuji Itadori, they're regarded as great men who possess phenomenal power that restored order to the world. However, right now, with the generations going by, sorcerers have only gotten weaker and weaker. So the idea of using them as an energy source in business is also dwindling out. This resulted in the worth of Japanese people dropping, much like a stock on a market. So our villain is deciding to make one last sale before he bows out by cashing in Sugiri. We then get this insane panel of all the kids he's captured in product bags. And again, for those of you that have seen The Matrix, Altered Carbon, or any cyberpunk-esque show, this is a common practice. Like, take a look at this. I definitely feel like JJK took some inspiration. Anyways, our MC states that he's pathetic, not being able to get proper work, relying on kids for their money, whilst of course he's getting whacked in the face multiple times. The enemy states the more he speaks to children, the more he hates them. He starts going JoJo on my guy, smacking him up non-stop whilst giving him a lecture about his views. The land they're fighting on is basically a symbol of neglect and collapse from a past era that Yuji, Yuta, Maki, Megami, and all them lived in. They can't live up to that past era anymore. They're not around, right? But as he beats him up to a pulp, Yuga arrives with the alien blasting the door open. The way they found him was through Mula's unique ability. Since they are connected by blood, Mula can harmonize their existences together to a balance, which will then give them a signal on his location. Now, before Mula can scream out that he will save the children, Yuga interrupts, challenging her brother. They begin fighting each other in a sibling rivalry in the middle of a mission, making it quite a dysfunctional family, and it runs in their bloodline, I guess, you know what I'm saying? They are any so yeah. Now, remember that earlier we found out that they are on equal footing in terms of power, but there's an inferiority complex within both our MCs. Even so, Sugiri does a left-right good night, coming out victorious against his sister. Yuga then remembers his training. Bro is lifting and swinging around 140 kg on his sword like a...
Shop your new mattress your way at Ashley. Browse our wide selection online from the comfort of your home, or come in and see what feels good at one of our conveniently located stores. Shop Ashley in-store or online today.
Your perfect domain is out there. Go to Wix and make it yours. Claim your space online. Own your name, your brand, your breakthrough. And the rest just clicks. It all starts with a domain. It's yours.
Bored like it's bloody nothing. Obviously, the heavily restriction is putting in the work, but that's just insane for a 17-year-old to do. So, wallowing in pity, Yuga then directs her attacks to the villain instead. She then activates her dog bite claws, farming aura to kill the villain. However, he laid a trap beforehand, which allows him to teleport with his weapon, instantly gaining the upper hand. But eventually, her bro joins the fight with his katana, where the sparks created are carried onto the blade, making it stronger. He then tells his sister that he's proud that she's gotten stronger, and because of that, he will work even harder. Now, this is where we learn something very, very, very important, and you need to concentrate. We learn that in contrast to Europe having a close relationship with Yuga Akatsu, Sugiri was close to Maki Zenin instead. He was always stuck by Maki's side, playing with her, capturing wild snakes, and even fixing his boo-boos. Eventually, Maki would inform him that they are the same. This chapter shows us a very telling moment between the two, and it immediately sets up the contrast with Yuta and Yuka's relationship. Maki has always been defined by loss, her heavenly restriction, the Zenin Clan's rejection, and most of all, Mai's death. Her entire philosophy is that strength is born from sacrifice. It's an equivalent exchange at the cost of deep personal pain, right? And that's exactly what she passes on to her grandson, Sugiri. She tells him to lose something will become your strength, but that blade will also harm you. It's a lesson forged in trauma, teaching him that his worth comes from enduring suffering. Then comes the symbolic moment with the ring. She justifies her decision by stating, Sugiri, you don't need it because you're already strong. Now for Yuka, the ring was given as a gift of love, a charm of protection that made her feel chosen by Yuta. But for Sugiri, it's forced onto him as a decree of the Gojo clan, not something that he wants, but something he's told he needs, with the chilling line, your will doesn't matter. So you're probably wondering, what does this mean, ABD? I don't understand. The reading comprehension cause everything I brought, right? Okay, basically, what was once a symbol of compassion for Yuka, it has now become a symbol of oppression for Sugiri, turning the same object into two completely different legacies. That is why Sugiri then declares he will gain acknowledgement through his own means by becoming strong. He was trained by Maki after all, and they will realize he doesn't need the ring. So he will hold onto it until the time comes, so Yuka will have to wait. But eventually, it's revealed that they have won the fight. However, the trafficker hasn't given up yet. He connects his energy to every child that he has captured, intending to teleport all of them away with him. And then, that's when the truth is finally revealed. Muda's third eye pops out, knocking him out instantly and saving the day. That's when our MCs discover that the rumors are true. Aliens have arrived on Earth. At the Kyoto Future Science Museum, Japan's Ministry of Health is debating if they should treat the Sumerian aliens like a pathogen. Basically, the government is saying, we don't know their religion, language, or culture. We don't know if they carry diseases or unknown effects. So the safest thing is to treat them like a virus, right? But here's the crazy part. The moment you do that, the story states it could trigger a declaration of war. So essentially, if sorcerers treat the Sumerians like persons instead of people, the world is finished. As a result, they hold a meeting with the Sumerian diplomacy specialists. As the meeting proceeds, Usami steps in to welcome the alien, but you can already feel the mistrust boiling underneath. The Sumerian thanked Earth for welcoming them, but the Japanese representatives are shocked. They didn't even know the aliens could speak Japanese. And it turns out that in America, they were already talking in English, and the US didn't bother sharing that intel with Japan. Instead, they just told the sorcerers to quickly ask the aliens for their superior technology. And that sounds quite right to me. The USA do be like that for their self-interest. Like, imagine if they had oil.
Who says some oil? Be cooking?
The tension then cranks up real fast. Japan can't rely on help from other countries. And then the Sumerian diplomat drops a bombshell. Their king wants to be present at the talks. But here's the twist. The aliens won't allow it unless there's zero hostility. Basically, they don't play to human politics because to them, negotiation only works if both sides show absolute trust. Something humans clearly suck at, just look at our history. They even dropped the bar that it's meaningless to disarm their king. Meaning that this dude has hands rated E for everyone. Now, when we actually meet the king, his presence alone reminds humanity of Sukuna. His aura alone is overwhelming. So heavy that humans in the room genuinely wonder if they're even still alive while shooting bricks. Usami then even has to admit that if they were serious, the aliens could bring down our country very easily. This statement alone automatically puts them at a special grade status. Because remember that in the original Jujutsu Kaisen manga, Kenjaku claimed a special grade is someone capable of wiping out a nation with one hand behind their back. It is reserved for sorcerers with such immense strength that their destructive potential is immeasurable. So the humans now, they're all thinking, what?
We rise.
Thinking, wait a second, we've been getting weaker and weaker, and now we have to deal with this Sukuna level calamity? What the fuck do we do? They have already bent over backwards approving all their requests, so should they just do some armament shit thanking Eren for destroying the world? Now, given what I said and all the glazing and the power-ups, what do you think the humans do? They say Yuta and Maki's grandchildren will be assigned this mission. And then I hear the most shonen shit I have ever read. Guess what it is? The power of friendship. They need to melt the hearts of the Sumerian aliens without politics, but with the spirit of the next generation, proving coexistence is possible. Now, I know geopolitics is hard to understand and kind of like a bruh moment, but Gege is introducing a lot of it, so I'm going to break it all down. We learned that decades ago, after the treaty, Japan grew overconfident. They hid behind international agreements whilst riding a dangerous wave of nationalism. Like, think about it, they had a monopoly on cursed energy. No one could F around and find out against Japan anymore. They had Yuji, Maki, and Yuta being special grades that are legendary. They are capable of taking down an entire country on their own, like I said. Not Megami, of course, he apparently died to a great curse.
Bye-bye, Tata, goodbye, there.
But that complacency nearly doomed them before, and now history is threatening to repeat itself. As the discussion unfolds, the danger becomes clear. Isolation will always breed fear, and fear always breeds violence. If news of the Sumerian aliens leaks to the public, that fear could quickly spiral into hatred and armed conflict. And if that happens, war is inevitable. This is when we snap back to our MCs, discussing what they discovered in Chapter 1 and getting up to speed with everything. They learned that the threat is equal to Ryumin Sukuna, which allows the story to give even more revelations that we were dying for. Apparently, Yuta told his grandkids the complete story story of JJK speed reading the entire manga, informing them that's how he received his forehead scar. They start believing what the child trafficker stated regarding aliens. I mean, each kid he was kidnapping was worth $50 million each or more, so why would he start such a lucrative business if he wasn't serious? They then debate about Maru, and they agree on one thing: he must be from out of this world. But Yuka suggests they should check. But the logic is very clear. Usami introduced Maru as an inspector from a security treaty country, so officially they're not allowed to know his true origin just yet. This clash between the siblings perfectly sets up the dynamic of the story. Yuka wants to believe in Maru to give him a chance at humanity, but Sugiri sees only a threat, convinced that putting faith in an outsider could be their downfall. They then squeeze more info out of the trafficker. He informs them that information leaks are inevitable, especially in government offices that can barely function after the AI regulation era. They're so outdated that he even jokes they might as well go back to pen and paper. It's basically Gege clowning on how fragile our real world systems are. Like, look at the real world, look at our actual politicians right now. Every bloody country is cooked. Nepal's cooked, Qatar's cooked, the Celestial Dragons are cooked, America's cooked, UK's cooked, every country is getting cooked out here, and we can't even tell what's real or not with AI. Anyway, Yuka, she's still skeptical, and she can't wrap her head around how casually everyone just accepts that aliens are real. The trafficker then roasts her, pointing out the irony. She's a sorcerer, someone who literally fights curses and lives off the supernatural every day. Yet she finds aliens hard to believe. They then learn that the spaceship is hovering above Japan. But how can it be left undetected, they believe? They even cloak the whole goddamn thing from human detection with a barrier technique. So that's equally impressive, just as terrifying. However, resources will eventually run out, and that resupply moment could be the turning point where Yuka and Sugiri witness the truth with their own eyes. But as they wait, the siblings finally clash over the ring. Sugiri refuses to give it back to Yuka, and for the first time, he opens up about why. But in the meanwhile, Maru has his own confrontation, meeting his twin brother. Now, unlike Maru, who's been living amongst sorcerers, Cross immediately reminds him of his true mission to observe humanity. The aliens already know that humans are just like them. Good people and bad people exist everywhere. But as Cross explains, what actually matters is whether their philosophies, values, and sense of right and wrong can align. Without that, coexistence means nothing. We then discover Maru has no influence over the Sumerian Council. Their opinions are split. Some want peace, others are ready for war. And when war is mentioned, Maru snaps. To him, conflict should never be an option. But his brother claps back that if Maru believes that, he must prove it by continuing to gather information, as that's his duty as a warrior. Maru tries offering food to his brother as a way of connecting, but Cross rejects it, choosing instead to head straight to Jujutsu Tech to see it for himself. However, that's where things spiral down once again. Sugiri runs into Cross, mistaking him for Maru, and being already skeptical of his nature, Sugiri is shocked when Cross brushes him off with arrogance and rude. This only fuels Sugiri's suspicion and resentment.
We start chapter 3 with a chilling discovery. A man-eater has appeared in the prefecture of Gifu. This brings our newly formed trio to another case. With the reports of 2 victims and 3 witnesses, we learn the bizarre story of a shark that swims through the forest, leaving torn bodies behind. As the gang make their way there, sort of gave things back to the last chapter when Maru switched up on him. You know, my boy ain't used to being on the receiving end when disrespect is dished out. Little did he No, it wasn't Maru. It was his twin brother. Hence why, with Maru acting his usual self, this journey isn't as awkward as Tsurugi thought. So he decides to break things down, explaining cursed spirits and why this specific case is quite odd. Because for decades, curses have been confined to Tokyo. However, suddenly, just as aliens decide to show up, they are called to suppress the threat in a random prefecture such as Gifu? Like, this doesn't make sense. Unless the shark is possibly from outer space. Yeah, this is completely coming to you guys. This is it. Now, at this point, everyone, including your mom, knows Maru is an alien. But in hearing this accusation, my boy outright confirms it to the gang, saying that this shark has nothing to do with them, and they do not eat humans. Yeah, well, I guess that rules out the Sukuna alien theory. Regardless, with Maru spilling the beans, he decides to keep quiet as, he's on a delicate mission to understand if humans can be trusted in the first place. Hence, he refuses to indulge too much information to his new human friends. Luckily, Yuka believes him, saying he doesn't seem to be a bad person. Well, Tsurugi isn't so convinced. So when Yuka splits off to confirm the witness's testimony, my boy doubles down on his doubts, telling Maru that his alien-ass race better not be planning a full-scale invasion behind the scenes. This question is warranted, and Maru doesn't even deny it, because if he cannot bring valid evidence that the humans have similar morality, then the Sumerians are going to drop in like a nuke and take over. Knowing he is trying to stop this outcome, Maru shifts the burden of guilt, questioning Tsurugi if humanity really developed morality and reason to speak such a way about the Sumerians. Maru explains that this migration wasn't by choice, so Maru cuts to the chase and asks Tsurugi why he doesn't like it, in which Tsurugi responds, "You're honestly an idiot." Yeah, Maru just wants friends, okay? Even his own twin thinks he's an idiot. So hearing this makes him weak.
It's back to school time, and Electronic Express has you covered with the best deals on computers, printers, and dorm room essentials. Everything to help them start the year off right. And shopping local has perks like free financing and free delivery. Visit your local Electronic Express at our Rivergate or Hermitage locations.
He's sad, but Tsurugi calls him out. Why the other day he waited a whole gosh dang minute before using his special Dajjal beam cannon to save the child? When Maru responds saying he couldn't intervene due to his orders, Tsurugi flips the entire script back on him. Were these orders more important than a child's life? Yep. This leaves Maru speechless, because all this time, it seems, the Sumerians were looking down on the humans, questioning if they are even moral beings. Yet, this question should have been thrown back at them. Before
Rick and Morty Season 9 is right around the corner. And guess what? It first started airing all the way back in 2013, more than 12 years ago. Getting old. Anyway, here's everything that happened before Season 9. If you have a feeling that you have already seen this, you're not crazy. We did end up reusing some of the footage from the entire story of Rick and Morty video since it got demonetized, which is a Season 1, Episode 1. We're introduced to Rick C-137. And yeah, it's important to remember that because things might get confusing if you don't. Oh, and more. Rick pulls the kid from school to go on an adventure to get mega seeds. And he makes a really weird request.
When we get to customs, I'm gonna need you to take these seeds into the bathroom, and I'm gonna need you to put them way up inside your butthole, Morty.
What? Morty does it as well. Poor kid. Season 1, Episode 2. The family dog pisses all over the place, and Jerry is super annoyed. He asks Rick to make a device that will make him smarter, and he makes it. But then the dog, Snowball, figures out how to use the device to make himself even smarter, and raises an army of dogs to terrorize the Smith family. He leaves them alone in the end because he has a soft spot for Morty. Meanwhile, Rick and Morty go into Mr. Goldenfold's dreams so they could subconsciously manipulate him into giving Morty good grades so he can continue to go on adventures with Rick and, not attend class.
Jeez, Rick, in the time it took you to make this thing, couldn't you just, help me with my homework? Are you listening to me, Morty? Homework is stupid.
Yeah, looking back at this one, their priorities probably need a check. Season 1, Episode 3. It's Christmas, and while Jerry spirals at home trying to force a normal family holiday and dealing badly with his mother's open marriage and new lover, Jacob, Morty gets sent inside Anatomy Park, an amusement park Rick built inside a homeless man named Reuben. Reuben dies mid-visit though, and his body starts collapsing. Yeah, the simple task turns deadly for poor old Morty. But hey, it's a win for Morty. The kid at least got some action.
Morty, can you get to the left nipple? Are you kidding? I'm hoping I can get to both of them, Rick. No, Morty, I'm talking about Ruben's left nipple.
Season 1, Episode 4. Rick and Morty find they're trapped in a simulation run by Zygerians, who are trying to trick Rick into giving up the formula for concentrated dark matter. While Jerry is also stuck inside and has the best day of his life due to the simulation running him on low capacity, Rick repeatedly exploits the simulation's flaws, eventually realizing he's still inside it and deliberately feeding the Zygerians a fake recipe.
And the final ingredient?
Season 1, Episode 5. Rick and Morty go on an adventure Morty insists on leading.
Seriously, Rick? You'll let me call the shots? Okay, yeah, fine.
Which initially seems successful, until Morty is traumatized after being assaulted by Mr. Jellybean in a tavern, causing him to abandon the bet and ask Rick to take him home. Rick later secretly returns and kills Mr. Jellybean. Back at home, Rick gives the rest of the family a Me-Seeks box to solve minor problems, which typically quickly spirals out of control when Jerry's unable to improve his golfing skills, something he's requested the Me-Seeks help for.
I can't take it anymore! I just want to die! We all want to die! We're Me-Seeks!
The crisis is resolved when Jerry finally succeeds at golf, causing the Me-Seeks to disappear and undoing their nihilistic rage. Season 1, Episode 6. Morty's got a high school dance coming up, and he really wants his crush Jessica to like him back, but Brad keeps shutting down all attempts. And so he goes to Rick and asks him to whip up a potion that'd make Jessica fall madly in love with him. He's 14. What did you expect? Rationality or, ethics? Rick calls Morty a thorn in his ass, but gives him what he wants. Before leaving, Morty asks if there's anything that could go wrong with the serum, and Rick answers no.
There's no dangers or anything or side effects, right? Whoa, what am I, a hack? Go nuts, Morty. It's foolproof.
Spoiler, fact.
You might not believe the United States is ever going to win at all.
I close my
Well, we will. How can I be so sure? Because he is. Opioid addiction gets between you and what you love. Once monthly Sublocade may help you move forward in your recovery. Sublocade with counseling and psychosocial support treats moderate to severe opioid addiction in adults started on an oral dose of buprenorphine or already on buprenorphine. Sublocade is just one dose that lasts all month long with no complete detox required. Buprenorphine should be started after the first signs of withdrawal. Sublocade may cause harm or death if injected in a vein. As an opioid, it may cause serious life-threatening breathing problems. Ask for opioid overdose reversal medicine. Get emergency help right away if you're faint, dizzy, sleepy, confused, have problems breathing, seeing, or talking, or if reversal medicine is given. Don't take with other opioids, benzos, alcohol, or other drugs, including street drugs. This can cause severe drowsiness, decreased awareness, breathing problems, coma, and death. In emergencies, tell medical staff you're on Sublocade for opioid dependence. This isn't a full list of risks and side effects. Talk to your doctor and read patient label for more information. If you or a loved one is struggling with opioid addiction, visit Sublocade.com.
That may have been a lie. At the dance, Morty uses the serum on Jessica, and it seems to be doing the job just fine. Jessica has the flu, however, and it piggybacks onto the flu virus and makes the virus replicate in seconds. It goes airborne and infects Brad, then everyone else at the school, then everyone in the city. Morty eventually escapes. Then Rick admits he screwed up, and finally explains how the situation spiraled this far out of control. Rick says he has a solution.
What are we gonna do, Rick?
It's gonna be fine, Morty. Relax. I whipped up an antidote. It's based on praying mantis DNA.
Of course, praying mantis DNA is that solution. Rick releases the antidote, and as you may have guessed, it gets even worse. The infected students begin sprouting mantis-like limbs, and they still not only want to have sex with Morty, now they also want to decapitate and eat him afterwards. But wait, Rick still has another solution. But this time humanity just turns into blob-like creatures called Cronenbergs. After all that, the two of them are just forced to leave their family and Earth behind and start a new life in another dimension like none of this ever happened. Season 1, Episode 7. Morty's eye falls on a weird alien sex doll while he's at an alien antique shop with Rick, who decides to let the kid have it. Morty took it to his room and started enjoying it.
So here's the deal. A couple of months back, I made one of those iceberg explained videos, and it was extremely popular, and people were asking, no, begging me to make another one. So here I am, making an iceberg on America's favorite adult-oriented programming blog, Adult Swim. If you're new to my channel, I'm Dan Tavius. How you doing? And if you're unfamiliar with what an iceberg chart is, it's basically a way to sort information from the least known to the most known. Or wait, no, the other way around, from most known to least known. Yeah, that's right. Anyways, let's not waste time with this pointless intro. Let's jump into this pointless video. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to be picking one lucky person from the comments to win a...
At Mattress King, we're proud to be Middle Tennessee's largest family-owned mattress store for 32 years.
Sign of the early 10 eyes.
We're all about family, community, and offering the absolute best night's sleep possible. Something the national chain simply can't duplicate.
We're off the chain.
Right now, during our back-to-school sale, get all the top brands like Tempur-Pedic and Beautyrest Black for as low as $20 a month.
What's up for 25% off on Helix? That's impossible.
No, it's necessary. Only at...
So before we actually delve into the iceberg, let's do a quick vocabulary lesson. You're gonna hear me using the term bump or bumper a lot, and that's just referring to those transitions that Adult Swim would have before and after commercial breaks, kind of like what I did at the beginning of this video. Now that that's out of the way, let's actually start. Okay, one last thing and we'll get started, I promise. I want to give a big shout out to Wilfred Cthulhu, who created this iceberg chart and helped me out a little bit. He has videos on every layer of the iceberg on his page, so go check it out. Too Many Cooks was a 15-minute long sketch that appeared on Adult Swim's infomercial programming. This was the block at 4 a.m. before Adult Swim ended, where they would show a bunch of weird shit. It starts off as a parody of old sitcom title sequences, you know, where they introduce the characters to upbeat music, but then a serial killer starts murdering all of the people as they're being introduced. And the genre switches from old sitcom to soap operas, and then a police drama, and even a sci-fi Star Trek type show where the serial killer turns into a giant spaceship. It's all very surreal and meta and avant-garde, which is a word I just learned 5 minutes ago, by the way. The skit went viral back in the day, and today it's sitting on 21 million views. Seth Rogen's phone number. Eric Andre supposedly gave away Seth Rogen's actual phone number on an episode of the Eric Andre show. That's it. Unedited footage of a bear. This is another infomercial skit. It starts off as the title suggests with unedited footage of a bear, but after about 12 seconds a fake ad for allergy medicine comes up, and similar to Too Many Cooks, it spirals into an insane horror movie. I'm not gonna get too much into it, alright? If you wanna go watch it, go watch it. I got fucking 8 more entries on this layer, so come on, let's keep it moving. Boston Moon and Night Panic. This refers to an event back in 2007 in which a bunch of fucking schlemiels mistook LED lights of a cartoon character for improvised explosives. That's right, the entire city of Boston was shut down because of a marketing campaign for Aqua Teen Hunger Force. To build hype for the upcoming Aqua Teen movie, a bunch of these LED displays of Moonanites were installed around major cities, including Boston. If you're wondering what a Moonanite is, I'll have Fox News' Chef Smith explain it for you.
So, what is this little light bright looking character thing seen flipping the bird at all eyes which fall upon it? He's a Moonanite, of course, in Turner Broadcasting Cartoon Network's late night block of programs for grown-ups called Adult Swim. The show is Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Moonanites hail from the center of the moon, obviously. They're a race of pixelated aliens from the inner core of Earth's satellite, represented here by and Ignat.
Cartoon Network was forced to pay $2 million in damages, and Adult Swim's general manager would step down a week after the incident. So yeah, at the end of the day, it was a pretty successful marketing campaign if you ask me. All Kids Out of the Pool refers to Adult Swim's original bumps, which consisted of old people swimming and some guy in the background yelling, "All kids out of the pool!" Toonami's back, bitches. So Toonami was a programming block that came on before Adult Swim, and it mostly played anime. I mean, let's be honest, if you're a male born in the 90s, you know exactly what Toonami is. And you probably know that it was canceled in 2008, but then in 2012 it was brought back as a part of Adult Swim. That's it. It's really not that deep. I mean, come on, we're not even in the water yet. The Dawn Is Your Enemy is a bump that showed up at the end of Adult Swim before regular Cartoon Network programming would start. Honestly, I can't remember ever seeing this when I was a kid, and I stayed up all night a lot. But then again, I was huffing a lot of glue back then, so I might have just lost my memory. But anyways, I'm not going to get too far into this one now because it's going to come up again later. Alright, so that was the first layer. We're still in the sky, nothing too crazy. Let's move down to the tip. Space Ghost Coast to Coast and the Bragg Show aired before Adult Swim. All this is saying is that Space Ghost Coast to Coast and its spin-off The Bragg Show aired on Cartoon Network before Adult Swim even existed. But once Adult Swim was created, they became part of its lineup on day one. A lot of people think that Space Ghost Coast to Coast was an Adult Swim original, but that's simply not the case. The true Kraft Punk. So Kraft Punk is a character on the Eric Andre show. There's been a lot of speculation on who's actually in that costume. Some people think it's Eric Andre. Some people think it's, another person. My personal opinion, who gives a shit? Next, 4 a.m. 4 a.m. is when Adult Swim plays its weird, creepy, and unsettling shit. This is when Too Many Cooks and unedited footage of a bear premiere. Joe Pera Grocery Store Food List 1945.com. Now, before I get into this one, I should explain who Joe Pera is. Joe Pera has a show on Adult Swim called Joe Pera Talks With You, and in one of the episodes, he went to the grocery store.
Just go to Joe Pera Grocery Store Food List 1945.com. Leave a comment for something you think I'd enjoy.
So if you go to the website Joe Pera Grocery Store Food List 1945.com, you'll be redirected to this URL, which is just a basic HTML grocery list, and you can add more items, and there's a link to Joe Pera's page on Adult Swim website. It's nothing too crazy, it's just like a fun little Easter egg. Saints Row 3 radio station. So in the game Saints Row 3, one of the radio stations played exclusively music from Adult Swim, and it was even hosted by John, the main character from Adult Swim's Delocated.
You're listening to WDDTCPDG, The Swim. I'm John.
Everyone's life runs in straight lines. At Sophia, we get that. Our flexible, affordable, self-paced, college-level courses help thousands of people just like you complete their degrees for only $99 a month. Find your courses. Complete them at your own pace, anytime, anywhere. Submit to your school for credits. Keep going. Keep pushing. Keep learning. With Sophia, you got this.
I'm John from Delocated.
Waiting for the next season of blank. So all this is referring to is that sometimes there's larger breaks in between seasons of a lot of Adult Swim shows. Like there was 3 years between seasons 5 and 6 of the Venture Brothers, and there was 4 years between Eric Andre's show's 5th and 6th seasons. Carl in GTA 5. So there's an Easter egg in Grand Theft Auto 5 where Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force calls into one of the radio stations. It's actually pretty freaking hilarious. Dexter's Rude Removal. Rude Removal was an episode of Dexter's Laboratory where Dexter split himself and Dee Dee up into 2 separate copies. One pair of copies was rude and the other pair was polite. This episode was banned because of all the bleeped out cursing.
Hey, where's the candy? Hey, what will you do with that?
This episode was made in 1997 but wouldn't see the light of day until 2013 when it was released on Adult Swim. I remember this being kind of like an urban legend. Nobody knew if it really existed or not. But then again, that might be a false memory because like I said, I was doing a lot of nitrous oxide back then. Adventure Time areas. So Adult Swim aired reruns of Adventure Time for a few weeks, and it must have not done well because they took that shit down quick. Which makes sense because it doesn't really match the rest of their content. Alright, so we made it past the tip, and we're finally in the water. This is where the real juicy stuff starts. Eric Andre's show behind the scenes. So this is referring to all the crazy things Eric Andre would do to torture his guests, and to keep them from finding out that they were about to get tortured. Because, you know, the magic behind the Eric Andre show is that people don't know what they're getting themselves into. And at first, it was really easy to fool people into thinking they were going on a regular talk show because nobody knew who he was. But then he had to do like more and more intricate things in order to keep the truth away from these people that he wanted to come onto his show. Like, for example, he would make fake footage of him interviewing people as if it was a normal talk show, and he would send that to people's managers and bookers and stuff, so they would just think it was a regular talk show. But then obviously, you know, they came on and it was the Eric Andre show. Aside from the things that we actually get to see, like when Eric unleashed rats on unsuspecting guests or when he would throw up on his own desk, there's so much stuff that happens behind the scenes that we don't get to see. Like, for example, in the T.I. episode, there was just a naked guy standing behind the camera, and that's why T.I. got so pissed off and wanted to walk off. But other than that, he would turn the heat up in the studio all the way, even in the middle of summer, which is why a lot of the guests look so sweaty, and he stopped bathing the entirety of season 3. A couple of the guests make offhanded comments about his stench, but yeah, man, there's just so many things like that. Even when people were familiar with the show, he still had to figure out ways to torture them. Like when Jack Black came on, he hooked them up to a lie detector, except there wasn't a lie detector at all. It just kept shocking him every time he would lie or tell the truth.
What did you have for lunch today?
I had sushi.
Ah, son of a bitch, you shocked me. This is shocking me when I tell the truth now.
Eric talks about this stuff in multiple interviews, so if you want to know more, just watch those. Contact Ghost Planet. At the end of each episode of Space Ghost Coast to Coast, there would be a message saying Contact Ghost Planet with some contact information. I tried calling one of these numbers and some dude Ron picked up and said he's tired of these stupid ass kids calling his phone all the time. Chill out, Ron. Revived Futurama and Family Guy. So Futurama and Family Guy were both shows on Fox. Family Guy got canceled after season 3, and Adult Swim picked up the syndication for next to nothing, and it became the most popular show on Adult Swim. Then the bigwigs at Fox were like, hey, wait a second here, maybe we were wrong. Let's try this thing out again. And it got renewed for a 4th season, and I'm pretty sure they're still making new episodes even today. A similar thing happened with Futurama. It got canceled on Fox, but became extremely popular from the Adult Swim reruns, and that led to it getting 4 movies made on Comedy Central and even getting rebooted a few years later. I don't know about you guys, but I've never seen these shows on Fox. I've only ever seen them on Adult Swim. Amazing art style versus crap art style. So this is referring to the fact that Adult Swim shows either have an amazing art style like Black Dynamite and the Boondocks, or a crap art style like Home Movies and Squidbillies. But this one doesn't really make too much sense to me because there's plenty of shows that are in between. Like I would say Rick and Morty and the Oblongs are in between, so I don't know. Aqua Teen Hunger Force Space Ghost Coast to Coast designs. So believe it or not, the Aqua Teen Hunger Force actually made their debut on Space Ghost Coast to Coast in the episode Baffler Meal.
Aqua Teen Hunger Force, assemble!
Hylock, the hunger eater, tater.
Meat rod, ball of compressed meat. The bomb is in your mind.
And together we are
Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
As you can see, their original designs and personalities were completely different, except for Meatwad. Adult Swim technically owns American Dad. Okay, so American Dad premiered on Fox. It was then bought by TBS. TBS is owned by Turner, which also owns Cartoon Network and Adult Swim. That's why new episodes of American Dad play on Adult Swim a few days after premiering on TBS. Therefore, by the transatlantic property, Adult Swim owns American Dad. Black Dynamite juxtaposed cover. So I'm going to be 100% honest, I have never heard of Juxtaposed magazine in my life, but apparently it's a culture and lifestyle magazine that was really popular in the 2010s. On July 12, 2012, they had this really cool cover featuring Black Dynamite, and you know, it's a shame the show didn't live up to the hype of this cover, because it only lasted 2 seasons and it was not very popular. Gaining fondness of anime from Adult Swim. So for most of us, our first experience with anime was from watching Adult Swim. Personally, I'm not a big anime fan, but I'll tell you what, I used to watch the shit out of Dragon Ball Z and Naruto when it was on Adult Swim and Toonami. I honestly don't think anime would be this popular in America if it wasn't for Adult Swim, because it gave you that little taste while your brain was still developing, you know? So you know what? I blame Adult Swim for modern day American weeb culture. Fuck you, Adult Swim. Hanna-Barbera assets and other shows. So a lot of people know that Space Ghost Coast to Coast is based on a 1960s superhero show, Space Ghost, and it reuses assets and footage from that show. But what a lot of people don't know is that there's a lot of other shows that reuse assets from old Hanna-Barbera stuff. For example, C-Lab 2021 is based on a 1970s show, C-Lab 2020. And I'm pretty sure Aqua Teen Hunger Force also reuses old backgrounds from Hanna-Barbera. Aqua Teen Hunger Force made a pilot to be aired. So Aqua Teen Hunger Force actually premiered a whole year before Adult Swim even existed. They played the episode one time and they didn't do any promo or announce it at all. This is what's referred to as a stealth pilot. Anyways, when it actually premiered on Adult Swim, they actually started with episode 2. In the original pilot, the concept of the show was that the Aqua Teen Hunger Force solved and investigated crimes for money. But after a few episodes, they stopped doing that completely. And the in-show reason was that they weren't making enough money from doing that. This is because Cartoon Network executives didn't want to air a show about food going around doing random things. So the guys who created Aqua Teen made up a fake pilot so the show would get greenlit. And eventually, after a few episodes, they would start doing what they actually wanted to do with the show. Man, I don't know why, but this story just brings joy to my heart. This house has people in it rabbit hole. So this house has people in it is another weird-ass 15-minute long skit similar to Too Many Cooks or unedited footage of a bear. The concept is that we're viewing the home security system and seeing footage from different rooms in the house. The family that lives in the house isn't doing anything particularly interesting. They're just talking about normal suburban white people shit. But of course this is Adult Swim, so it progressively gets weirder and weirder. Like for some reason everybody's eating clay and the daughter literally starts sinking into the ground. Like she goes through the floor slowly while her family freaks out. But you know what? I'm not gonna get too deep into it. If you wanna see for yourself, just watch it. The rabbit hole part comes from the fact that there's a lot to unpack in this video. There's an explanation video about the 15-minute long skit that's an hour and a half long and it has more views than the original video. So I was not joking when I said there's a lot to unpack. There's a ton of Easter eggs and like hidden things throughout the video. For example, at the end of the video, there's a URL for a website. If you go to that website and say forgot password, it'll auto-generate an email. Press send and you'll receive a reply with the username and password. Once you actually get in there, there's a bunch of stuff you can see, like there's these logs. I don't really know what they are, but there's also archives, which is just recordings that add to the background of the video. Hey!
Are you okay? I can't hear anything you're saying. I literally can't hear anything you're saying. I can hear that someone's on the other end of the line, but I can't hear.
Oh, a character in my book.
I'm sorry, I literally can't hear what you're
Honey.
saying. Hey, I can hear that.
Honey.
Oh.
Make hot sleep a thing of the past with a cooling mattress from Ashley. You can sleep cooler today for as low as $6.99. Trust me, summer isn't cooling down anytime soon. Shop now.
Yeah, that's only a taste of what's out there. There's a ton of additional videos that supplement the original skit. If you want to learn more about this, go watch Nightmind's hour and a half long video about this. Let's move on. Season 4 of the Boondocks never happened. So originally the Boondocks was supposed to end after season 3, except that Adult Swim wanted to make a 4th season. Only thing is, the series creator, Aaron McGruder, wasn't involved with it at all. So naturally, it was shit. It's kind of like the Gas League season in Community. Some people don't even consider that part of the show. And I think it's so far down the list because a lot of people didn't even know there was a 4th season of the Boondocks. I didn't know. Rick and Morty ended after season 2. This is a similar situation. People don't like seasons 3 to 5 of Rick and Morty, so they like to pretend as if they don't exist. Simple as that. Space Ghost Coast to Coast interview process. So Space Ghost Coast to Coast didn't have a traditional interview process where they would ask a question and then get an answer from the celebrity and just air all of that. They would ask the celebrity a question, but then in the actual show, they would edit in Space Ghost asking a completely different question, which made the celebrity look crazy. This is fucking hilarious, and I'm really sad I didn't give Space Ghost a try when I was a kid. Pee-wee's Playhouse. I am surprised that more people don't remember that Pee-wee's Playhouse was on Adult Swim. I remember seeing it a few times as a kid, and it terrified me. Like, nothing Adult Swim can make comes close to how creepy the show was, man. Alright, 4 layers down, we are deep in this biatch. Let's start with Boo Boo Runs Wild. This was a parody of Yogi Bear in which Boo Boo goes crazy, and then Ranger John tries to shoot Boo Boo, and then him and Yogi end up beating the shit out of each other. Adult Swim airs it every few years randomly.
I'm sorry, Yogi. I'm afraid I'm going to have to do my
Falcon Punch Pumper. Wait, no, that's not right. Falcon Punch Bumper. So the guy who made this iceberg chart swears he saw a Falcon Punch Bumper on Adult Swim, but I haven't been able to find anything about this anywhere on the internet. And I spent hours, I stayed up whole nights researching, trying to find it. I'm kidding, I looked for like 10 minutes before giving up. But yeah, the guy says he saw it, I trust him. It might be some Mandela effect bullshit, but who knows? Let's move on. 1966 Space Ghost added laugh track. So back when Space Ghost Coast to Coast first premiered, it would sometimes follow up episodes with episodes from the original Space Ghost show from the 1960s, except they added a laugh track on top of it. Staying up late to watch Full Metal Alchemist. This is referring to the fact that some people would stay up late to watch Full Metal Alchemist. Randomly discovering FLCL. So FLCL, or Fooly Cooley, is a 6-episode anime series that would premiere randomly on Adult Swim. Not a lot of people have seen it, but it has a cult following. And I just want to say, I keep seeing this cool and unique stuff that's popping up on this iceberg chart, and I spent a lot of time watching Adult Swim when I was a kid. I would spend weeks upon weeks during my summer vacations watching Adult Swim all night, and I haven't seen any of this cool shit, man. The only weird thing I saw was Pee-wee's Playhouse. Whatever, let's just move on. Unnerving bumper. So we've already talked about the Don Is Your Enemy and Clark, but there's so many other unsettling bumpers that are more obscure. Like, take this one, for example, that I found while I was researching for this video. It's called Facelift. Let's move on. Pictures of shows that ended up on Cartoon Network. This is referring to the fact that some shows were pitched to Adult Swim, but were rejected and ended up on Cartoon Network. The Problem Solvers and Class of 3000 are 2 examples of this. I mean, the Problem Solvers animation style looks like a straight-up Adult Swim show. It's also rumored that Regular Show was originally intended for Adult Swim, which kind of makes sense since it's so much different compared to other Cartoon Network shows, and it's a little bit more in line with the humor and the style of other Adult Swim shows. Aqua Teen Hunger Force ended very quickly. So Aqua Teen Hunger Force was an Adult Swim staple from day one, and it was one of their longest running shows. Everybody remembers watching it, but nobody remembers that it was canceled all the way back in 2015. I don't remember anybody ever talking about this back in 2015. Apparently the show's creators wanted it to go on, but Adult Swim's president wasn't feeling it anymore. The episode titled The Last One Forever and Ever For Real This Time, We Fucking Mean It, was released as the series finale, but that was a lie. The real series finale, The Greatest Story Ever Told, was released online with barely any advertising. That's kind of a shitty send-off for such an iconic show, but what are you gonna do? All Time in Music Eastern instantly takes you back. All Time in Music Eastern was a song that Adult Swim used for a lot of its bumps. If you don't remember, let me refresh your memory with this short clip. Alright, I can't do any more than that or I'll get hit with the copyright claim. So do me a favor. Pause this video and look up all times in music Eastern so you can jog your memory. Else the next part's not going to make any sense. Go ahead. I'll wait. Don't you just feel a shot of nostalgia straight to the groin when you hear that? Gosh, it takes me back 30 years ago, back to my high school days when I was doing whippets and trying to figure out if I was gay or not. Shared memory of watching Adult Swim in the mid-2000s. This one really isn't that deep, but most people who were born in the 90s have memories of watching Adult Swim till like 4 a.m. and a sense of euphoria and melancholy would wash over you as you would see the sun rising and you would hear your dad waking up for work as he screamed, "Go to sleep, you piece of shit!" Vampire squid.